Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Leadership Speak series of L Forum. Today, I have on my show an interesting young entrepreneur who is the CEO of Bake Media, a young and energetic startup from Philadelphia. Welcome to the show, Jacob.
Yes, hi, Ringo. Thank you for having me. Really excited to be on this podcast and share some of my experiences and ideas.
Excellent. So let's jump right into it. So, Jacob, give us your background. Tell us your journey so far and how you
Sure.
started off Bake Media.
Yeah, absolutely. So a little bit of background about myself. I am a Philadelphia native. I was born and raised in the suburbs of Philadelphia. I attended university at Penn State University. I earned a degree in finance and focused in international business. Then ultimately landed an investment management job, postgraduate, and I've been focusing, on starting my career there. But in addition to that, and why we're on this call is I've also started a new tech startup called Bake Media, and we're creating a vertical social platform to solve the generational question: what should I watch? We're offering a unique way for users to stay engaged with their favorite shows, even catalog them, and even discover more. So we're really excited about the platform. Excuse me. And we're really focusing on that social emphasis. So TV enthusiasts like you and me can have a home to share and discover more. So ultimately, where did that begin? So I think originally it started. I was overwhelmed with the amount of times individuals kept asking me, what are you watching? What should I watch? Where can I watch this? These questions fill small talk conversation now, and it's something that I knew needed to be addressed, and there's a market for it. So ultimately, I reached out to one of my good friends at Penn State University. He's a tech whiz. His name is Bennett Halper. So I brought him on board from the beginning to help see out my vision on how we can answer some of these questions that are circulating society right now surrounding TV.
Excellent. Sorry, you caught me drinking my coffee. So,
Oh,
so tell me, Jacob, your journey. You've taken on the interesting path of being a young entrepreneur.
sure.
So, what has been your, let's say, experience or learnings as a young entrepreneurial leader?
Sure. So let me actually take you even back farther into my background. So I think why I'm even on this forum right now is I've always had kind of a knack for being an entrepreneur and for being a leader. I'll take you back to in my early childhood, 10, 11, 12 years old. I created a business that was helping neighbors around the street. I would clean pools. I would walk dogs. I would shovel driveways. I even actually remember when I was younger, I was like 12 or 13 years old when I started doing this, and I wrote the Neighborhood Helper LLC, and I thought I was so cool to say LLC. It was not a limited liability company, but I think I saw it on one of my father's tax forms at some point. But I kind of started that, and I remember after 2 weeks of cleaning this individual's pool, I received $100 bill. I was about 12 years old. I was very, very excited about this. And came running home to my parents, and my father looked at me and says, "Okay, now go get more." And from there, I had so much fun, kind of building out this business as it grew. And, as I continued to grow a little bit, even into high school, I had friends who wanted to help shovel and do other yard work. And it ended up kind of growing. And then that even extended, much more, past, this little entrepreneurial effort that I had when I was younger. Throughout my older years and into college, I was president of multiple clubs. I was president of my fraternity. I kind of kept falling into these leadership roles. So in the back of my head, even from when I was young, I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur and to be a leader, and I knew that I had the ability to do this. So I ultimately got very excited around this idea, and I knew something was going to ultimately land in my lap at some point, and I wanted to just expand on it. And as I mentioned earlier, I found a couple of problems that I want to build a platform to resolve. And I think I have the energy for it. And so the journey, let's say, as wanting to be an entrepreneur, started very young. That sat with me for many years, and I've always, kind of wanted to continue to expand that. And then, moving in kind of to answering some of your questions, even as of, more frequently with Bake Media, that journey has been extremely challenging and rewarding at the same time. This has been my first real experience leading a company, and all of the nuanced issues that reside with these with running a company, with forming a company, with working on pitching a company and so forth. So there's been a lot of different aspects that I've had to learn throughout my experience, and it's been, bottom line, it's been fun, and I think that's what's been the most important, and that's what's been driving me to continue.
So, you bring up a very interesting point, and I've not heard this before. I've had numerous speakers on my podcast. So you wanted to be an entrepreneur from around 11, 12 years, you said.
Yeah.
So what was it? Do you remember what was it that you had in your mind, or what motivated you wanted to do something like this? It's very interesting, and I'm sure the audience would love to hear your side of it.
Sure. Yeah, and at that time too, I don't even think I had a concept of money. So a lot of individuals would say, money wants to drive them to be an entrepreneur. I think ultimately what drove me and is I wanted to help people, and I knew that I had kind of had that ability to help people at a large scale. And maybe at 11, 12 years old, 15 people in the neighborhood isn't very large, but it was rewarding for me. When I saw, an old woman's face after shoveling their driveway, and they're so excited to, provide me with this reward, that ultimately, was better than the $20 or $30 that I received. So I think, even after that experience, I wanted to continue to help people, and I felt that where I was best suited, and I didn't really learn this until I, grew a little older, but I was best suited to help people in more of an entrepreneurial effort, to see things big picture and to coordinate, to ultimately achieve these outcomes.
So what were the learnings you've had from your entrepreneurial journey of, I don't know, 10 years, 12 years? I don't know how old you are, but sure. I'm assuming it's 10 plus years, I'm assuming. So
yes.
So in various avatars as an entrepreneur. So what has been your learning so far?
Sure. So I think there's maybe a couple key learnings that I would provide. One is there's always a path forward, especially as a young entrepreneur myself. A lot of them are new experiences. A lot of them are new challenges that I've never faced. So how do you get around an obstacle? How do you overcome a challenge if you've never done it? So I think a huge aspect of learning is being able to speak up and ask for help and connections. If I didn't know, for example, when I was creating my first few pitch decks and pro formas, I didn't know exactly how to do it. I reached out to other individuals in the industry who have done it, and I would ask them for advice and use them as benchmarks. And so I think that aspect of always knowing there's other individuals who you can connect with and help you achieve that path forward is extremely important. As a young entrepreneur, and even as I continue to grow as well, I won't have all of the answers immediately when I run into an obstacle. So I think being able to use all the resources that are provided to you is extremely important. So that's one definitely key learning that I would focus on. The second learning as well is if you want to get something done, you have to lead by example. There was something I kind of learned very early on, and whether it was being a president of a club or a fraternity, or ultimately now CEO, if you're not willing to put that effort in and be enthusiastic and passionate about the performance yourself, you're going to have a very difficult time leading others to ultimately help you achieve that outcome. So that I found very quickly, as well as you have to lead by example, and ultimately show that you're willing to jump in on the ground floor and support the cause as the same way as you're delegating and so forth. So I think those two learnings I found to be very useful and help me continue my entrepreneurial efforts.
Excellent, excellent. I think I'm sure that holds true for whether you're a young entrepreneur or you're an experienced
Sure.
entrepreneur. Those perspectives are so important, and I think as you would see in our own conversations with other entrepreneurial leaders like you, Jacob, some of these things resonate and reverberate in almost all the conversations, and some of them don't even know each other, they've never met. Or so I try to speak with people who are my connections or I know them at some level. And but this is so reinforcing that the entrepreneurial leader has possibly a DNA which has got a
Sure.
common theme which transcends borders, boundaries, age, profession, verticals. And that's the exciting part of entrepreneurship, I guess. So nothing is without the downside or the dark underside, right? So what have been your challenges as an entrepreneurial leader, Jacob, so far?
Sure. Yeah, I could definitely jump into some of that as well. I think a couple of the challenges that I faced, especially over being an entrepreneur and being the CEO of Bake Media, one is the lack of experience. And I do find that as a challenge because there are so many new obstacles and new challenges that approach almost every single day. Being able to resolve them may take me, personally a little longer than a more experienced entrepreneur or more experienced individual who has maybe some more of the answers. So I think that has been one aspect of being an entrepreneur that I found fairly challenging so far, and it's something that I think ultimately will be a challenge throughout my life. But as I continue to grow and evolve as an entrepreneur, I'll find ways to improve this process and ultimately figure out how to handle certain experiences more efficiently. So I think being new to an entrepreneur and jumping in as a young entrepreneur and let's call it a legacy game. It's been exciting, but it's definitely been a challenge, and it's been something that I've always wanted to continue to explore and learn more about. So I think that's one massive challenge that I faced. I think another challenge that maybe is even more tailored toward me is, so how do you, if you're not a young entrepreneur, how do you ultimately explain your goal and your potential outcome to others? How do you get people on board? How do you generate excitement surrounding a company or a cause? And that's something that I've also found to be a challenge. I can be very excited and very enthusiastic and know everything about my product, but how do you get others to join in? And that's how you become a leader. You don't have leaders, and you can't be an entrepreneur unless you have a community or followers. So bringing others to understand your concept and understand your vision has been a challenge for me. I've learned certain ways around it to build engagement and so forth, but and I don't think I have the right solution as of now. I think it takes years and it takes time to understand people, to understand how I can accurately get my message across. And it's something that I'm learning. And as I receive more feedback and have more conversations and do more testing, I get a lot of these answers. So I feel like those two challenges have probably been predominantly, prevalent in my journey so far.
And I hope you don't have any more, and you are continuing to have a smooth ride. And as a
Sure.
fellow entrepreneur, I wish you that, Jacob, that in your journey you see less hurdles and you see more successes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And my last question for today's conversation is, what's your advice to someone who's probably like junior to you, wants to start being an entrepreneur, or even someone who's well entrenched in a corporate life? What would your advice be? Should they be looking at entrepreneurship? And if so, what is your advice to them?
Sure. So I think a few things. If there's an individual who's excited about being an entrepreneur, that's the most important. If you're not enthusiastic about wanting to lead and wanting to build, it might not be maybe the best role for you. But for the folks that do, have a vision and have an idea and want to explore it, I think maybe my best, an analogy here would be, I think we both play golf, but this could be used in multiple facets of life as well. If you're standing on a tee box and there's a lake and a bunker and multiple trees in your way, but you do see the green and you see the goal and you see your landing spot. There's going to be a lot of things in your way at all times, and there's going to be treachery, and there's going to be a lot of scary obstacles. But as a young entrepreneur, if you can see your landing spot and you have that idea, don't worry about the hazards. I think if you continue to focus on your idea and focus on the path rather than the obstacles, that'll be very, very influential in helping you, take your idea from just being an idea and in your head to an actual product. I think a lot of individuals, even like myself, are scared at times of all of the potential obstacles that they could face. And my suggestion to them would be, don't worry about the obstacles. Push them aside, focus on the landing spot, and I promise you the rest will fall into place.
Wonderful, very positive, and very energizing. So, Jacob, I wish you and Bake Media all the very best and all success. Thank you so much for joining us. And needless to say, I'd like you to participate more actively in the L Forum activities. We are building this forum, as the name suggests, for entrepreneurial leaders like all of us. And the hope is that we will do more interesting stuff in terms of understanding what it takes to be an entrepreneurial leader. How can we help each other and build a little community of entrepreneurial leaders? So I'd like you to stay connected with us and join us for maybe future conversations of this nature. And wish you all success, and let's stay in touch. Thank you so much for your time today.
Great. Thank you so much, Ringo.